There are a few things I would like to share with you about our next speaker. Number one, the City Club of Chicago proudly takes credit for our part of the fabulous publicity which our next speaker earned by joining us at the Special Olympics Polar Plunge. He invited Jimmy Fallon. He helped us raise $1.2 million for children and adults with special needs. He deserves a round of applause for that. Thank you. The City Club of Chicago wants our next speaker to capitalize on his well-deserved, fabulous Polar Plunge publicity by inviting him to a press conference with over 500 Special Olympians and their families on Wednesday, September 24th at 11 a.m. I'm going to give you the document here, Mr. Mayor. Wednesday, September 24th, 11 o'clock, to celebrate the approval to build a $31 million sports complex and permanent home for Special Olympics Chicago in the Medical District. Number three, let's give him a round of applause. Now, everyone on his scheduling staff is very irate with me, but now I think we have witnesses that we've asked them, okay? Number three, the City Club of Chicago wants to invite our next speaker to address the City Club of Chicago, as every mayor who has won election and re-election in the last 59 years has done so. And here's the invitation. Our next mayor, the mayor of the City of Chicago, Mayor Rahm Emanuel. Mayor. There's your invite.
Thank you. Thank you for the invite. Like usual, Jay, you invited me during Rosh Hashanah services, but I'll see if I can get out of the rabbi's sermon during it. So thank you very much. That's a joke. It's near the Jewish holidays, not exactly. But this year I may become Orthodox and decide to stay in synagogue the whole time. But I will say it was great to do the Polar Plunge because it's a great cause. And on a serious note, I want to say nothing can touch you, nothing can touch you like 32-degree water. But more importantly, you see it every time you talk to these kids and young adults. During the Special Olympics, they get a chance to show that we don't have a person to waste, and people are not defined by an individual disability. They have something to contribute, and the Special Olympics gives them an opportunity to show who they are and what their fully potential. I want to thank you for helping all of us realize that everybody has something to contribute, and thank you very much. And the good news, since there was a challenge, if our kids read 2.4 million books, Jimmy Fallon will bring the Tonight Show to the City of Chicago, although I am asking the accounting firm of Schwartz & Schwartz to do the accounting and make sure that they read, because I'm not doing that Polar Plunge for nothing. Now, we are here on a very, very serious endeavor. I have the distinct honor of introducing Cheryl Hyman, the Chancellor of the City Colleges, who's done an incredible job of putting Chicago, the city colleges, and most importantly, the students on the map and providing and making sure we have an educational institution and facilities, as are known as our city colleges, that contribute to the economic growth and job creation in the city of Chicago. And she has taken the whole mission that I've asked her and the board with the community colleges, the college to career program, and totally reinvented our community colleges. And let me just give you a couple numbers, and then I'm going to do a couple stories, but a couple numbers to tell you her leadership and her commitment. On the financial side, Cheryl has balanced 3 budgets in a row without any fee increases on the students or any property taxes. Cheryl has taken $51 million out of the central office and restored it to the classrooms and buildings of the city colleges. Graduation rates 3 years ago were 7%. They've nearly doubled in the last 2 years and are on their way to 20% in 2 years' time. Started at the worst level and actually one of the greatest growths in the country. Something that's very dear to my heart is that when I became mayor, 300 of our CPS students were enrolled in either the dual enrollment or dual credit. Today, it's 3,100, and by 2015, it will be 4,100 Chicago Public School high school students. Starting at 300, just 3 years ago, we'll be at 4,100 students who are earning college credit and college education in either the dual enrollment or dual credit, getting their first exposure to college and knowing that they're fully capable of college because of what our community college system is doing to make sure there isn't a CPS system over here and a community college system over here, but integrated, making sure we serve all our children regardless of their age. And that's something that's very important to the mission of the City of College and mission of the City of Chicago. Now, we were just talking at the table, and I'd just like to bring up a couple facts. There's about 115,000 students and adults that go to the community colleges. If you put the entire student bodies of every four-year institution in the city of Chicago, U of C, Roosevelt, DePaul, Loyola, Northeastern, put them all in, all 14. More students go to the community colleges than all those universities combined. Now, like every other community college system, it was an essential educational facility and program at the end of World War II for all our returning GIs. When Sputnik came about, the federal government and the nation turned towards our basic research entities, and the community colleges faded in the role they can play. But that's not how it's got to be in the 21st century. And this is a rebirth of the community college system, and it's a rebirth of the economy in the city of Chicago. And one of the reasons that last year, the city of Chicago was cited by Site Selection magazine as the #1 city for corporate headquarters wasn't just that we had Booth and Kellogg School, was the fact that we had our community colleges contributing to our educational plan and to our capacity to make sure that a new company, when they come to the city of Chicago, has everything they need when it comes to skilled and educated workforce. The race for the future across this globe for job creation, corporations, well, where can they be ensured that they have the best skilled, best educated, trained workforce at every level, not just in the corporate suite? I think it's very fortunate as a city of Chicago that we have Booth School, Kellogg School, law schools, best computer science and engineering schools. That's essential. We also have more alumni from the Big Ten universities than any other city in America. I mean, as I said, basically about a week ago, between Madison, Wisconsin, and the city of Chicago on graduation day, don't get on the highway. You'll be roadkill. That's also true for South Bend, Ann Arbor, Columbus. We have 150,000 to 140,000 four-year degrees come plowing into the city every graduation from our universities, from this Illinois, and from around the Midwest and all the Big Ten state universities. That's a great advantage. But what's also a great advantage is that when a company decides to locate or expand here in the city of Chicago, we can provide and make sure that they know they have an educated, skilled workforce at every level to fill every position. And that means a community college system that's contributing to the job creation in the city of Chicago. And Cheryl has been at the center of making sure that we can do that. And making sure now we have at our community colleges 120 separate corporations that are partners on the College to Career program. And just two stories of what I'm trying to do to illustrate that point. We have a great airport. You probably saw in Cranes this week. We're one of the leaders in the world at a gateway airport, or in the country, for air cargo. When we were trying, we now take about 8% or 29% of all the air cargo coming into the United States from China comes to the city of Chicago at O'Hare. We're now recruited a company 2 years ago called Aerotron to build the largest air cargo intermodal facility at a gateway airport in America. And when we were trying to recruit them, they were looking at different cities. Yes, having the runways at O'Hare was essential, the longer runways. But because Olive Harvey is a school of transportation, distribution, and logistics, and that the company knew that they would have a steady flow of individuals with CDLs, that's a truck driving driver's license, it became the point that tipped the scale between O'Hare or the city of Chicago and another city. That insurance policy, that they had a steady flow of folks in logistics, in transportation, and in distribution. Made sure that the people going to Olive Harvey had a job they could go to, and they had a degree that ensured that when they went to do the interview, that they had an opportunity to compete. And Irritrom, all in a couple of years, is 12,000 employees. And it ensures that if we're going to be, as the city of Chicago, I call it the inland port of America. If it moves on rail, runways, or roads, it's coming in and out of the city of Chicago. And the students that go to Olive Harvey now have a shot at that promising career and jobs in that area. A second example, as a number of you know, that Whole Foods is building one of the first grocers in Englewood at a food desert. They tried 3 separate places. I said, why don't you move across the street from Kennedy King, which is a culinary and hospitality school for the city of Chicago. In a number of weeks, we'll be breaking ground at that facility, 400 jobs in Englewood. And because of the unique partnership between Kennedy King and Whole Foods, where they tried 2 other parts of the city, couldn't make it work. Right across the street from the School of Culinary and Hospitality is where Whole Foods is putting the first in the nation food desert grocery store anywhere in the country. Just two examples of companies we're able to recruit to the city of Chicago because the community college system has a college to career focus on the jobs of tomorrow and the careers of tomorrow. And we all know in the past our community colleges was the last step in an education. Cheryl has reinvented it with the board support, direction from me, to be the first step on a new promising career and a job and a contribution. And it is an essential role for the city of Chicago. And one last story before I introduce Cheryl. And the whole part of this was, I was on the way on the L platform across from the cell. And I was walking towards an announcement I was going to make about rebuilding the Red Line South. It was the kickoff. Shaking hands along the way, and I met a young man, and I said, where are you coming from? He goes, Harold, Washington. I said, what are you studying? And he said, I'm studying business administration. I said, where are you going? He says, I'm going out, I'm working at Target. I walked away and I realized, this guy is doing everything, this young man is doing everything we would want him to do. He's holding down a full-time job, and he's also going to full-time school, and he's studying business administration. And I couldn't in good conscience look at myself and all of us who are responsible. He's doing everything you would ask him. Work, school, a better education. And when he gets a degree out of Harold Washington, and it says that, does it have the same value and the same goal that when my degree said Sarah Lawrence or Northwestern? It opened doors. Does Malcolm X on a resume open doors or shut doors? Does Harold Washington on a resume open doors or shut doors? And because of what Cheryl's doing with the College to Career program and the reinvention of our community college system, we're ensuring that when a person writes Harold Washington Professional Services, the person sitting in the HR office opens the door and says, sit down. And if that works more often than not, we have a community college system that is building jobs, careers, and a promising future for the city of Chicago. And I want to give you the person that's seeing that through and that mission through, Cheryl Hyman.
Thank you. I have to say, this is probably one of the hardest jobs, most rewarding jobs I've ever had. Being a public sector leader, trying to drive change at such large scale and such rapid pace is not easy. But I can tell you every day what makes the difference in whether I succeed or whether I fail is having a supportive boss. Not only a boss that supports me, but I think one that sustains what we do every day. And I have that in Mary Manuel because I think he's the greatest champion of city colleges of Chicago. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I also have to thank my board, who on a day-to-day basis gives me, I think, the best guidance, the best direction, and the best support. And I know every day that's not easy. So Paula, Clara Saul, Pastor, thank you very, very much. Thank you. Beth is the mayor's deputy for education, but many don't know she also serves as my therapist on most days. So I'm very grateful to you, Beth. John and Frank, Hooker and Frank Clark, who are here, many know have served as mentors of mine for many, many, many years. And it's not a day that goes past that your guidance doesn't resonate in decisions I have to make. And I'm sure I'm probably responsible for a few of those gray hairs that you have as well. So thank you. But last but not least, there's two people here that are extremely special to me. Without them, I literally would not be here. Many people have heard our story. Many people have written about it. You've heard me talk about it many, many times, but we don't shy away from our story because I think it serves as a great testimony for so many who's struggling to overcome some of the same issues that we've had to overcome, and we continue to serve as each other's rock, and that is my parents. If you can please stand. Go ahead. I know at least two people would give me a standing ovation after this. Now, at the risk of being presumptuous, I have a hunch that I will be leaving here today with my 4th City Club mug. So it's only fair, Paul and Jay, that you at least have one City Colleges of Chicago mug along with a T-shirt. Here you go. Paul. Thank you. Now, sorry, everyone else. Not all of you can get a mug and certainly not a T-shirt because I do have to balance a budget. And the mayor will certainly wonder where I got that extra money from. But speaking of gifts, each table features our best gift to everyone, your future workforce. Our reinvention and college to careers initiatives are not just about increasing the number of graduates, but ensuring they have the relevant skills to meet the needs of employers. In other words, to bridge the skills gap. You have in front of you some of the resumes of the nearly 7,000 students who are registered for our career network, the online jobs marketplace where they connect with more than 700 employers, and soon, we hope, you, if you are not already, look into our students to build the workforce you need. I ask that you please fill out the card to join our career network. Aon is one of our College to Careers partners, working with the business program at Harold Washington College. They can vouch for our students. In fact, they have brought on City Colleges students as interns and have hired several of them. Aon and their City Colleges hires are here today. I'd ask if they could please stand. They're Aon. Yeah, there we go. Thank you, thank you. The greatest gift of all is help for our students, and that brings me to someone named Tom Roser. Many people in this room and across Chicago remember the wonderful contributions Tom made to this city and region. He was president of City Club for nearly 20 years and was a fixture on our airwaves and newspapers for even longer. Fewer people know he oversaw external affairs for Quaker Oats, a job from which he took a couple years off to go to Washington and manage the White House's Minority Business Aid Program, and also worked for the Peace Corps. Those two assignments were keeping with Tom's big heart, and I am told a fair amount of his Quaker Oats salary found its way to the needy. We're very proud to have his widow, Lillian Roser, with us today. Lillian, can you... Lillian. Thank you. Thank you. I am grateful to announce the City Club Board has created the Thomas F. Roser Scholarship in his honor. Each year beginning this fall, 2 City Colleges of Chicago students will receive a full ride under this scholarship. So thank you, City Club. Thank you. And everyone, please keep buying tickets to City Club events in order to keep the scholarship going. Now, Tom Rosa reminds me of another great American whose name few people know. His name is Gene Kranz, and he served as flight director for NASA on the Gemini and Apollo space missions. We're going to show you a 1-minute clip of his reenactment of his speech to his team after the Apollo 1 disaster, where 3 astronauts died in a fire on a launch pad. Here it is.
Spaceflight's terribly unforgiving of carelessness, incapacity, or neglect. I don't know what the Thompson Committee will find as the cause of this accident, but I know what I find. We were the cause. The simulators weren't ready. Our software and mission control didn't function. Procedures weren't complete. Nothing we did had any shelf life. And no one stood up and said, "Damn it, stop." Now, from this day forward, mission control will be known by 2 words: tough and competent. Tough meaning we will never again shirk from our responsibility because we're forever accountable for what we do or what we fail to do. Competent, we'll never again take anything for granted. We'll never stop learning. When you leave here today, you will write these 2 words, tough and competent, on your blackboard, and they will never be erased. They will serve as a constant reminder to the sacrifice of Grissom, White, and Chaffee. That's all.
Now, Krantz found himself having to reshape the culture at NASA after it seemingly had lost its way, and we certainly can relate. Krantz's words, which have come to be known as the Krantz dictum, resonate with our team as we live with the responsibility of helping 115,000 students shape their future and that of our city. When we launched the reinvention of city colleges in 2010, we ushered in a new era of accountability and demanded, but also rewarded, dedication to results among our staff and faculty. Last year, in my speech here, I unveiled our 5-year plan with quantifiable targets, an effort to ensure what we do, in the words of Krantz, has shelf life. Earlier this year, we released our first scorecard under that plan, and we reached our goal on 20 of 24 metrics. And 3 of the missed metrics were missed by 5% or less. You have the scorecards in front of you. These successful academic reforms are merely stepping stones to our overarching objective, giving each Chicagoan an opportunity to join the middle class and rebuild the very social and economic fabric of our communities. More than 46 years ago, Chicago's West Side was in flames in the wake of Martin Luther King's assassination. I was born not too long after the riots and grew up in the then new Henry Horner homes amidst the devastation and poverty brought by the ills that caused those riots. While most people remember Reverend King's last speech for the line, "I've been to the mountaintop," I find the speech's declaration that we mean business now and we are determined to gain our rightful place in God's world could serve as City College's mission statement, to offer students from all racial and economic backgrounds a shot at the middle class who may otherwise not have it. But asking for one's rightful place doesn't mean it's simply owed to those among us clamoring for that rightful place. We have to do our part. Put another way, the way it was put to me by mentors in my personal and professional lives, work hard. And if that doesn't work, work harder. That also means working past your mistakes and shedding stereotypes that have been applied to you, some of which you may have even internalized. My own story, sadly not original. Growing up in a loving but sometimes troubled home, I dropped out of high school. Now, don't mishear me. My parents didn't drop me out of high school. My so-called troubled home didn't drop me out of high school. Society didn't drop me out of high school. I dropped out of high school. To me, it is a self-evident truth that we cannot blame others or the world for our own decisions. I got back on the track I wanted for myself, and a few years after dropping out of high school, I graduated from City Colleges of Chicago, on my way to a career in technology and business, and today as the leader of that same institution. Now, that's how my story ends so far. I want to make sure as many students as possible also get to write their own ending. So much of my story is shared by so many of our students, and so many of them walked a mile in my shoes in my pre-City Colleges life. Take Chanel Clanton, the valedictorian at Kennedy King College this year, for whom playing doctor as a child meant cleaning her mother's gashes from domestic violence. Later, she became abused by her own children's father and attempted suicide. But one day, Chanel grabbed her children and never looked back. Or take Shauna Brown, the 2014 Harold Washington College valedictorian, who saw her father pass away from a drug overdose and who herself lacked the confidence to tackle college until her late 20s. So many people have stories like ours, yet too few have walked in my, Chanel, and Shauna's shoes across the stage to get their City College's diploma. But in the words of Maya Angelou, you may not control all the events that happen to you, but you can decide not to be reduced by them. The year I received my associate's degree, I won't tell you when, but it was at least a couple US presidents ago. Less than 2,000 City Colleges students received one. When I became chancellor, 2,000 was still the annual average. I am proud to say today it is nearly 4,000, the highest ever. Last year we broke the record, and this year we seem to be on track to beat that record. So when we say we aim to boost access to the middle class, this is what we mean. One of the ways we measure our impact on the lives of Chicagoans is what we call the reinvention bump. The reinvention bump is the amount of lifetime earnings generated by the additional degrees our students have attained under reinvention above and beyond the pre-reinvention average of 2,000. After just 4 years, we have awarded nearly 6,000 such additional degrees. Given that Georgetown University researchers have estimated an associate's degree is worth nearly $425,000 more in lifetime earnings than a high school diploma, the reinvention bump stands at $2.5 billion in new lifetime earnings for our students. That number does not even count any additional earnings these students may get from further education our associate's degree may make possible. Another way we measure our impact is this. Under reinvention, Kennedy King College in Inglewood, a neighborhood that normally makes headlines for violence and poverty, has tripled its graduation rate for first-time, full-time students since reinvention. Not only does this give Kennedy King one of the fastest growing graduation rates in the nation, but it makes it one of the best achieving urban community colleges, period. Bringing academic and economic opportunity to our neighborhoods is exactly why institutions like us were created. This commitment to strengthening our communities is the driving force behind our continued investment in adult education, meaning GED and ESL. Both are a path to improve economic well-being. Last year, I discussed our new contract with adult educators, which was designed to reward progress against this type of metric. Improvements took place, and last fall, adult educators received their first performance bonus. GED attainment is up 20% at City Colleges. Transition from adult education to college-level work are up 33%. We have helped our communities make these strides by shifting our faculty and staff culture towards one of enhanced optimism and engagement on behalf of our students, as we make it a rallying cry that low achievement is not some sort of sentence that anyone should accept. In a recent survey of faculty and staff, 77% said reinvention was either important or very important to increasing student success. Only 6% said it was not important. Now, we didn't do surveys 4 years ago, but I can guarantee a survey then would have had a very different result, given the resistance to the idea of reinvention we encountered across city colleges and many times beyond city colleges. The other part of the culture change we are putting more emphasis on every day is among our students and our communities. We have put in place many of the tools our students need to succeed. Where there were none, today there are tutoring centers, career centers, transfer centers, wellness centers, and veteran centers in each of our 7 colleges, funded through the elimination of administrative redundancies and increases in efficiencies that yielded more than $51 million in savings. This academic year, we organized all of our academic programs into highly structured pathways that give each student a clear roadmap to graduation. Already 30% of students register for fall. 30% of our students register for fall are on a pathway, many of them college to career students, and our goal is to be at 100% by fall 2015. The next frontier is to ensure all of our students not only take advantage of those tools, but also give themselves the means to succeed. In the words of the Krantz dictum, students must in turn live up to their own responsibilities and must never stop learning. One of the lessons I learned as I rebounded from being a high school dropout who left her parents' house to getting my city college's degree was that life may offer you some second and third and even fourth chances, but it's incumbent upon you to do your part to be ready to do something with those chances. We have to be ready to deliver our best on day one and every day, because that is what life expects. That is what employers expect. It is our responsibility to make sure students know this. Every employer we work with says one of the greatest commodities with which we can equip prospective employees is soft skills. That is why we are building soft skills from politeness to timeliness into our curriculum. That is why we have banned hats from our colleges. That may seem trivial, and some of our students sometimes struggle to understand why, but it is part of an effort to emphasize that the workplace will require them to look professional and abide by someone else's rules. I have my eye on saggy pants as well. That is why this summer we will develop with our partners and our student leaders a clear, simple student code of responsibilities that will set expectations as to what they must contribute to their own academic success. In essence, when a student walks through our door, they enter into a contract, with each party having its own responsibilities. We have to provide colleges that support learning, and students have to do the work that learning requires. This academic year, we got a clear validation of this need to articulate expectations clearly. Over the last few years, I grew impatient with the pace at which we were bringing all of our nursing and health programs to best in class. Because any month, any year, we are not where we need to be, students' careers and life prospects suffer. So earlier this year, I announced every healthcare program across city colleges would be consolidated at the new Malcolm X College and its virtual hospital near the heart of the Illinois Medical District by 2016. This will allow us to bring together the new best-in-class facility and leverage the best practices from across our institution. Among academic reforms, we reviewed the nursing curriculum with our healthcare industry partners and raised the bar on academic standards. Additional special exams were put in place after each course. A student who fails an exam must repeat the corresponding course regardless of his or her grade in the course. Now, there were calls against having such high-stakes tests. but we stood firm because there's nothing wrong with high-stakes tests to prepare students for such a high-stakes profession as nursing. This was another step in our efforts. Thank you. This was another step in our efforts to further defeat the tyranny of low expectations that City Colleges and some of its students lived under for far too long. According to Gene Kranz, during the Apollo 13 crisis, words which applies both to us as individuals and City Colleges as an institution. I don't care about what anything was designed to do. I do care about what it can do. That is the philosophy that drove Mary Manuel and I to launch College to Careers 2.5 years ago. Since then, more than 150 corporate and four-year college partners have worked with us to redesign our curriculum and our facilities and to offer our students access to real-world opportunities. To date, we have paired 6 of our 7 colleges with a College to Career specialty. College to Careers is about more than curriculum alignment and partnerships. It, too, is about helping Chicagoans lift themselves into the middle class. There are high-wage jobs available today in these 6 fields, but too few applicants with the skills to make employers invest in them and hire them. About 1,300 students have found a job or internship in one of our College to Careers area of training. New, more relevant programs launch each semester. Enrollment in College to Careers has exceeded even our aggressive targets. The program also is about making every taxpayer dollar go further. Under the old City Colleges model, money was spent on as many as 6 nursing programs, for instance, all with facilities that were at best adequate. We are concentrating our investments in one place to make sure our students have access to the best academic foundation, faculty, and facilities, period. Because College to Careers is concentrating investments, we are able to shave $10 million off our initial capital plan while still equipping our students to thrive in the real world on day one. To ensure our programs remain within physical reach of Chicagoans as each college gets a special focus, we are launching a new shuttle bus program this fall. Now, my good colleague, Forrest Claypool, can still sleep soundly because we are not creating another CTA. What we are doing is ensuring that our colleges are better linked to each other and to L trains at a time when 1 in 5 City Colleges students already take classes at 2 or more of our colleges, a trend that we will further encourage as we move from a model of proximity to a model of relevancy under College to Careers. Today, we are announcing, the mayor and I, our 7th College to Career industry focus at the last college without one. Harry S. Truman College will serve as the College to Careers hub in education and will offer specialized advanced coursework for students who already have selected a bachelor's degree major in human and natural sciences. More than 39,000 job openings are projected in education alone over the next decade, with starting salaries of up to $50,000. Like all our other colleges and College to Careers programs, Truman will offer a combination of certificates and associate's degrees. In Truman's case, the education programs will be tailored to those entering the education profession, as well as for professionals in need of continuing education. All these reforms and new programs have been implemented without asking taxpayers or students for more money. We have a balanced budget and strong balance sheet that earned us a AA credit rating despite a challenging state funding picture. Our strong financial footing has allowed us to move our $500 million plus capital plan forward that addresses loan deferred maintenance and builds facilities to advance College to Careers. On our 2 largest projects, the Transportation, Distribution, and Logistics Center at Olive Harvey College, and a new Malcolm X College, both to be completed in 2015. We now have foundations, and we are proceeding with erecting the rest of the structures. Much as with these two projects, much remains to be done as we strive toward a more success and student-focused city colleges of Chicago. But we can confidently continue to build upon the solid foundation we already have laid. As we do that, we must never erase Krantz's two words, tough and competent, from our minds, so we continue to operate as leaders who are willing to face up to their failures, learn from them, and refuse to repeat them, and also learn how to leverage successes and maximize their impact. City College's commitment as an institution is to always chart our progress and give Chicagoans the information to decide whether we too are living up to the Krantz dictum. Thank you.
You want to have the college president, do you have any of them here?
Yeah, they're here.
Why don't you do that?
Paul asked me to have the college, I think all of the college presidents except for one who is physically meeting with our College to Careers partners right now, if the college presidents can stand up. I think they're here. Thank you. The people who are really responsible for getting the job done.
Okay, real quick, because, come on in there, City Club P, don't be shy. City Club, the word shy, you have tough and competent, we don't have the word shy. Any questions? I mean, sure, there'd be a lot of criticism, what you just said, it was just an off-the-cuff speech. Yes, Mr. Clark.
It's a two-part question. Go over the statistics around the bump again. It was brilliant, but it was
Okay.
my mind wasn't working fast enough to keep up with it, and it sounded very important.
Okay.
And the last partnership that you just announced sounds very, it sounds big. I want to make sure we all appreciate it.
Okay.
Repeat a little bit of that question.
The reinvention bump, so Georgetown University has estimated that an associate's degree will add $425,000 lifetime earnings to anyone who receives an associate's degree. Since reinvention, we've awarded an additional 6,000 associate's degrees. So if you take 6,000 times that 425,000, that's where you get the 2.5 billion. But that does not take into account any additional earnings they'll get if they go on to get their bachelor's degree in other degrees.
That part I understood.
Okay. Yeah. So it's the 425,000 times the additional associate's degrees we've awarded since the reinvention. Okay. The second part of the question is Truman College to Careers focus will be education. And so the preschool math teachers, science teachers, and also human and natural sciences, biology, chemistry, that sort. It is big, as with all the other college to careers.
Okay, we'll just have two questions, and then we're going to have Mrs. Roser come up here and have a picture taken. Before I ask you these last two questions, for all you City Club members, and that, by the way, was beautiful what you did for Tom, there would be no City Club if it wasn't for Tom Roser. He held this thing together unbelievably. And look at this. I think Chris and Jay would have vouched that this could have been a good, with the City Club meetings, a year. Add them all together, this would be it. So it's a great honor, and thank you very much for doing this. Gary Johnson, Chicago. Gary, I really have trouble with this. Chicago History Museum. Those of us a little long in tooth, it's the Chicago Historical Society, but nevertheless, moving on. Tell us, this is to you, by the way, Cheryl, hi. This is about tell us about the university partnerships.
Yes. Okay, thanks, Gary. By the way, I'm on the board of the Chicago History Museum, so thank you. We have 4-year partnerships with each of the 7 schools. I think when people think about college to careers, we spent a lot of time just getting rid of the stereotype that these were just, dead-end jobs, and so we had to get people to understand that college to careers is about relevancy. And so what will be relevant over the next decade? Now, that's anything from some of your quick 4 to 6 month certificates like EMT and medical billing and coding, but all the way through to nursing and physician assistants, things that very much depend on a 4-year degree. There is a lot of value in students coming to us first on their pursuit to get a 4-year degree because they can save up to $40,000. And so each one of our colleges has 4-year partners partnered with them that specialize in their college to career area. At Malcolm X, Rush is the leading partner. At Wright, where we have IT, we're looking at IIT, and so we have various partners, 4-year institutions. When I say 150, it's counting the industry partners and the 4-year universities.
Last question before we give you.
My mug.
Well, this, tough and competent, this last question could be the deciding factor. Daniel Bush, a Tribeca Flashpoint Media Arts College, otherwise known as TFMAC. What is the level of commitment to placing students into 4-year institutions? Sort of what you just said, but take off.
Well, I think that level of commitment is very high, but here's what we're committed to. Our number one commitment is putting students on a path to success. That success can be defined by a 4-year institution. It could be defined by a 2-year degree. It could be defined by a certification. And so I think what we look at City Colleges of Chicago is what programs, what professions, what jobs, what careers will be relevant over the next decade. And so our commitment is making sure students are equipped with the appropriate information to make the right decision for them, and that every pathway we have puts them on a good pathway to increase their economic value, whether that be a 4-year institution or stopping with us. And it's always about what we call building stackable credentials. A student can come to us today and get a certificate. They can go work and come back a year later and build upon that same certificate in order to get their associate's degree, build upon that to get their bachelor's degree. And so I think that's where our focus is.
How about a round of applause for this great presentation?